Hometown Ghost Stories contains serious and often distressing events and is not intended for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Are you aware of the oldest murder mystery known to man? 5,300 years ago, way up in the northern Alps in Italy, a man posthumously named Otzi was shot in the back with an arrow that severed a main artery. There, he likely bled to death in the extremely cold temperatures. His body froze and over time was preserved in the ice for thousands of years until 1991 when his remains were discovered. That's when Otzi the Iceman began his revenge-fueled killing spree. I'm Dave Wilkins, and this is Hometown Ghost Stories, Cursed Possessions, Otzi the Iceman. It is absolutely amazing what science can tell us about a life from over 5,000 years ago. The preserved remains of the Iceman were discovered in 1991 amidst sheets of melting ice on the Titzenjoch Pass of the Simalauen Glacier in the Tyrolean Alps. He was found on the border between Italy and Austria at an altitude of 3,200 meters above sea level. He's a well-preserved male human corpse, dark in color, and dates to the early Copper Age, indicating he is more than 5,000 years old. His belongings, scattered around the body, included a bow and quiver with arrows, a complete copper-bladed axe, a flint dagger with a wicker sheath, 2 birch wood vessels clad with maple leaves, remnants of a backpack, a leather pouch with small objects, fur and leather garments, shoes, and other minor artifacts. When scientists realized the antiquity of the find, the media response was overwhelming, and Otzi captivated the world. Through careful examination, scientists were able to determine how he died, when he was killed, what he had eaten the day of his death, and his overall health at the time he was killed. Scientists were also able to use CT scans of his reconstructed vocal cords to recreate the Iceman's voice. There have been several theories on the events that led to the Iceman's death all those years ago. One theory was that he was by himself on the mountain when he was ambushed by a rival tribe. That theory was debunked by Dr. Tom Loy, who through DNA analysis of the blood found on Otzi's clothes determined that he was not alone at the time of his death. Another theory was that he was the subject of a ritualistic sacrifice on the mountain and was ceremoniously buried there. This theory might explain the events that followed the discovery of Otzi's remains. In many ancient cultures, sacred burials were protected with curses, and if the sacred grounds are disturbed, a violent curse would be unleashed. In this case, a curse that would claim the lives of 7 people connected to the discovery. The first death was a man named Rainer Henn in 1992. Head of the forensic team examining Otzi, Henn was one of the first people to make close contact with the Iceman, picking up the cadaver with his bare hands to place in a body bag. A year after the discovery, Dr. Henn was on his way to give a lecture about the frozen remains when he was killed in a fatal car accident. Kurt Fritz was an experienced mountaineer who led Dr. Henn and his team to the remains after they were discovered. Shortly after the death of Dr. Henn, Fritz was leading a party of explorers through the Alps when an avalanche struck. Out of the entire party of explorers, only one person was struck by the falling ice: Kurt Fritz, and he was killed instantly. A few months after Fritz's passing, the only person granted access to the filming of Otzi's removal, Austrian journalist Rainer Holzel, died at the age of 47 of a brain tumor, only months after releasing an hour-long documentary of the excavation. The fourth death connected to the Iceman's curse was that of Helmut Simon, and probably the strangest of all of the deaths connected. Simon was one of the German explorers who originally discovered the body in 1991. In the years after the discovery, Simon had been bitter about not getting the credit he felt he deserved. In 2004, he was out hiking in the same area where he had made the discovery in 1991 when a freak blizzard struck. When he didn't return home that evening, his family grew concerned. A search party was formed, led by Dieter Warnecke, and the body was found. He had slipped and fallen 300 feet to his death. He was found frozen in the exact same spot the mummified remains of the Iceman were found 13 years prior. Simon was laid to rest shortly after, and within an hour of the funeral, Dieter Warnecke, the head of Simon's rescue team, suffered a heart attack and died. The following year, archaeologist Konrad Spindler, who first inspected Otzi's remains, publicly scoffed, declaring, "It's all media hype. The next thing you will be saying, I will be next." He was, in fact, next. Shortly after making that statement, he died of complications from multiple sclerosis. The final death credited to the Iceman's curse was that of Dr. Tom Loy. Dr. Loy carried out a DNA analysis on Otzi, piecing together the Copper Age story of his death. He helped debunk the theory that he died alone thanks to trace elements of human blood found on his clothes. The discovery was groundbreaking, and the archaeologist was working on a book about it. The book was nearly complete in 2005, but the expert was found dead in his home in Brisbane, Australia, before he had the chance to finish it. Dr. Loy didn't believe in the curse either, but at age 63 and in fair health, his passing had been linked to the 6 others. Now, while 7 deaths in connection with this alleged curse is a lot, it's 7 out of hundreds of scientists that came into contact with the remains, and all of the other ones seemed to not have been affected by it. So what do you think? Is it a legitimate curse or simply superstition? Stick around as myself, Jesse, and Rob discuss the curse of Otzi the Iceman. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into another episode of Hometown Ghost Stories, Cursed Possessions. Today we're talking about the curse of the Iceman, Otzi. I'm Jesse Wilkins. I'm joined by Rob Coakley.
Yeah. It's funny because I actually remember, because I'm super old, when this got discovered. I was not familiar with everything that happened afterwards, though.
No, I was also kind of unfamiliar with the curse. But joining us is Dave, who is familiar with the curse. Welcome in, Dave. Thank you. Yeah, this was an interesting one because even without the curse, this is a super interesting story. The fact that we can go back 5,300 years and figure out what this guy had for breakfast and how he died likely is just baffling.
Yeah, I enjoyed the different theories on the cause of death, and it was really intriguing to hear how these people came to these conclusions. And I think if we're going to say that it's a curse, then the one that we would probably dive into would be it was some sort of a ritualistic sacrifice. That seems to hold the most water when it comes to why is this thing cursed? Why are people dying around it?
Yeah, whether it was a ritualistic sacrifice or an assassination or an ambush or whatever, what does seem to be the case is that he was buried ceremoniously. So whether his tribe came and found him and buried him, we don't know, or we do believe we know that because the way that he was buried and the items that surrounded him suggest that it wasn't necessarily like a hiking pack, like a survival kit that they had originally thought. They think it was the way that those items were around him, that it was more likely to be a ceremonious burial situation, because he was found with medicinal fungus, which was preserved, which is interesting, an arrow, a knock, belt and pouch, flint tools in all, tinder fungus, and I don't know how to say this, but it's basically a working flint, and then a needle and an arrowhead. And they said that some of these items that he had on him, what they were made out of, it wouldn't be something that you would have traditionally carried with you at that time.
Right, because most of those items sound like things that you would have if you're in that situation, arrows, things to start fire with. But I think the one X factor is the copper axe, right?
Right.
I think I really relate to this guy because as a single man, I also have Tinder fungus at this point in time.
Gross. Too much information.
It's going to be difficult to start your family if you're just walking around with your Tinder fungus.
Yes.
But yeah, so the axe makes me think of like old Viking deaths where you get buried with your weapon, and probably other cultures as well. But it seems like that could be the case. Now, they do have theories on whether or not the body was moved after he died. The existence of someone else's blood on him, obviously he didn't die alone. Being shot in the back with an arrow, obviously that's not a way that you're going to die if you're alone. So
Right.
unless you're just firing arrows in the sky and ducking for cover, it's not a great survival tip for those out there looking for things to do in the woods and the mountains. Don't do that. But so it sounds like at some point it just doesn't sound like a sacrifice to me.
That's what I was gonna say. Same, like shot in the back. I don't think that was the way they were sacrificing people.
Right. But it did sound like he was some sort of nobility or a tribe leader or something of the sort, which is why he would have been buried with the copper axe. I think that's kind of the X factor there. Maybe some of the other things as well, but a lot of the things that you listed, I don't know what they are, to be perfectly honest. But just from what I've seen on this, the axe is kind of the thing that leads them to believe that he was buried ceremoniously, which would possibly lead to why it's a curse. But you also have this is also evidence to perhaps his body was moved and they picked this location to bury him there.
Yeah, I think that seems to be what the case was. And again, I think that the way that he died isn't really pertinent to the curse itself. I think that the fact that he was most likely moved and buried by his tribe, I think that once you disturb that burial site, that's where you would unleash a curse if one did exist.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I agree with that for sure.
So that all of that happened so many years ago, and they found him in the early 90s, and it was a couple of German hikers, explorers that stumbled across this body, and they obviously didn't know what it was. They definitely didn't know how old it was. How could they? And they phoned in the authorities, and that's when the archaeologists came out and took the body out. And then a year went by before anything happened. And that's when we had that first death of that archaeologist who, if you saw in the earlier video, if you were watching, if you were just listening, you can go find this video on YouTube of the excavation. They manhandled this corpse.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Literally.
This thing is over 5,000 years old, and they're just like whacking away with pickaxes, and this guy's going in with his bare hands. Just
yeah, it's like MMA Dave training for a fight was what was going on.
Seriously,
it was wild. Yeah, it was so. Dude, I'm not a professional. I'm not an archaeologist. I don't know how you would uncover some of these things, but I know it's got to be different because it's ice, right? So you got to kind of take that for what it's worth and think that they're chopping away at this thing because they got to hack through ice to get this thing out. It seems like a miserable job. This guy's dunking his hands into the icy water to grab these like chunks of whatever fungus or the quiver of arrows or whatever. It's watching that video. I'm sitting. I'm like, God, could you be a little more careful?
Yeah, the guy's just basically like, hey, watch me put him in a rear naked choke. Watch.
There was one part where he just kind of like took his leg, which was like almost coming off, and just kind of like just chucks it off to the side. It's like, dude, this is like the most well-preserved human being from that age that they have ever found. I mean, even the Egyptian ones, it doesn't really matter how old they are, but these are mummified and they have done, the embalming process or whatever it is that they do. So they're not able to get the kind of data that they were able to get out of this thing, which was, finding out what kind of food he had in his stomach, finding out exactly how he died. They were still able to pull DNA strands out of this thing and trace his family lineage. They found out that he still had like 12 family members alive today. It was freaking wild what they can do. But I guess it's fine because they were still able to find out all this stuff, but just watching the way that they handled that corpse upset me. And it's important to go back before we jump into the curse. It's important to go back to how lucky these all of these situations came together for them to actually find this body at that
Sounds
time.
like it was super lucky for them.
Right. Because
Considering
this
there's a
thing
death curse.
really worked out for everyone. No, that's not what I'm saying. But it's so putting that aside, let's just say that whatever. But just to find this thing and find out about the history of this and everything, it's obviously a super important find. Didn't work out for 7 of them, but for the other hundreds of scientists that did handle this thing, it did work out for everybody else. But basically, I guess they had a relatively warm winter, which or warm summer or something, but something that caused this snow to melt enough to where this body was exposed. Because obviously he was kind of like half above the ice and half below, I guess from like the waist down, he was still underneath the ice. So they came across this body and they straight up thought that this was like a hiker that had just died. They didn't think it was 5,000 years ago. They thought, maybe a couple of years ago or whatever. They didn't really know. They just thought they found a dead body. So they called the police. And that was that. But because of the off chance that they had a warm season to melt and expose this body, the fact that they probably found him pretty much right away. This was not a popular trail. This wasn't like a trail where hikers would commonly go. This was way
expert. This is so 3,000 meters is almost 10,000 feet. That's like, to put it in perspective, if you're in America and Mount Washington, if you're familiar with that, is 6,000 feet. So this is almost 2 Mount Washingtons. So
Yes.
it's a huge. People aren't hiking. This isn't like Monadnock. You're not just going to go for a nice.
Nobody knows what we're talking about. If you're from New England, you know exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. Mountains, but I think Monadnock is one of the most hiked mountains.
Yeah, exactly.
In America, it's one that I can actually handle, which is saying a lot. So so it's not a commonly hiked trail. They just so happened to be hiking at the right time and spotted this corpse. And if they hadn't found it like that day or in the next couple days or whatever, this thing would have rapidly started decomposing because it had been frozen for thousands of years. And obviously it's now exposed to sunlight and everything and all of the elements that it had not been exposed to for so long. So who knows how much of this would have deteriorated or decomposed and been lost. And basically it just would have been a skeleton. Who knows? But it was obviously not lucky if it's a curse, but lucky find for all of these things to come together.
Yeah, absolutely. Lucky find, but not for 7 of these individuals. So the guy who was manhandling the body, and to be fair, when they're extracting this thing, they did not know it was 5,300 years old. So if they had known that, they probably would have handled it with a little bit more care. Obviously, they didn't learn all this stuff until they got it back to the lab and performed all their tests on it. So either way, this guy, he manhandles this thing, desecrates the shit out of this burial site, and he lasted a year, and then he was killed in a car accident on his way to give a lecture about the remains that were found. So at the time,
probably how to handle them. That was probably what the lecture was about.
Probably how to handle 5,300-year-old remains. No. So at the time, I'm guessing nobody made the connection like, oh, this could be a curse because it was the first death. It was a car accident. It's just probably coincidence. My guess is it wasn't until either the second or third that they started putting this curse theory together. So Kurt Fritz, who was the mountaineer who led Dr. Henn and his team out to the site, he was, I guess, part of the excavation. I don't know if he actually handled the body or not, but he definitely was part of the reason that the grave site was desecrated. So he was the next victim of the curse, and he was the one. I thought this one was pretty weird. Now, it wouldn't be uncommon for a experienced hiker, mountaineer to be caught in an avalanche, but the fact that he was with a large party of people and the avalanche only hit him, it just seems real Looney Tunes-ish to me and just too specific. Like it was
that's
just him.
Yeah. So with a lot of these curses we deal with deaths that seem to have nothing to do with this. And immediately when I found out it was car accident for victim number 1, I was like, just write that one off because it's car accident. But he did happen to be going to go do a lecture on the thing. This one, my gut feeling is like it's a car accident. Car accidents happen every single day, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I don't really put that one. I wouldn't put that on the list of definite victims to this thing. The second one, I'm all in.
Yep.
It's an avalanche. You're dealing with an icy situation, snow, the same elements that this guy was in for thousands of years, and it was a large group of people. Only kills him. You're absolutely
Targeted
right.
avalanche.
Targeted
No.
avalanche, slam dunk, curse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Victim number 2, 100%. Let's go charge that corpse with murder.
Yeah. So I'm with you on the first one. I would write that one off. The second one, I'm also with you. That's just too specific. Seems like it was an absolute like a hit, basically. And then number 3, I think I'm going to chalk into the first column of probably not, because the guy died of a brain tumor.
Yeah, I was watching one video that said a sudden brain tumor.
A sudden brain tumor. I do think that they can come on pretty quickly. I don't know if the word sudden would ever be applicable, but
I think sudden is a bad way to describe it, but maybe he didn't realize he had a brain tumor and died from it or something along those lines. So
right. He was an Australian journalist, and he was the one who filmed the excavation. So he was involved. So I guess maybe he could have been affected by the curse. It's just, for me, the brain tumor seems a little bit too much like natural causes. It's the 4th death that I think is the most likely to be able to be put in the category of definitely connected to the curse. And this was poor Helmut Simon. Poor Helmut.
Is that a kid of Elon Musk?
Here's the thing: if he's wearing a helmet, would he have?
Oh no, maybe. That is not spelled the same way. So
okay.
Poor Helmut Simon, who was just bummed out that he didn't get any compensation for possibly the biggest archaeological find in the history of archaeology. One of them, at least the oldest human that we've ever found that we have.
At least that's that well preserved.
That well preserved. No, I think it just is the oldest one, I think. Either way, he was bummed out that he wasn't getting the credit that he thought he deserved. He goes out hiking, and he's an experienced hiker. He doesn't come home. His wife gets freaked out. They go looking for him, and they find that he got caught in a freak blizzard, stumbles and falls 300 feet and happens to land in the exact same spot that the body was excavated from. That is bizarre to me. That is so weird, because like obviously the storm wasn't predicted, and it's not crazy that he would have been in the same area, but it's crazy that he would have accidentally fallen 300 feet and landed in that same exact area.
Yeah, I looked at a couple sources and I never saw, and I'm not trying to debunk this, but I never saw the fact that he landed in that exact spot. I do know that he did fall 300 feet, crumbled, died there, but I was it actually on the exact same spot? Because if so, that almost sounds like a suicide to me. That almost sounds like, well, now I'm the Iceman or something like that. That almost sounds like maybe he jumped to land on the same spot.
Yeah,
if he did die in the same spot.
I considered that it could have been a suicide, but there's no note. And typically when it's a suicide, it's a suicide. They let you know one way or another, whether it's a note or if he said something to somebody. I don't think that the possibility of suicide is even considered. And I have 2 different news sources. One is Mirror UK, and the other one is Lethbridge News, that both said it was at the site.
That is wild.
So
I'm glad you confirmed that with actual news sites, because that's enough validation for me. Curse.
Yep, that's curse. And then the next one, which is almost immediately, is the guy who was the head of his search party that he died an hour after the funeral, which is crazy. So for me, that's the death seems really coincidental, but the fact that he wasn't part of the excavation, the original excavation, like why would he be affected by this curse?
What was his connection to it again?
He was the head of the rescue team that went to go find Helmut when he went missing.
Well, he went to the
site,
but
but the corpse isn't there anymore.
Yeah, but if it's the site that was cursed,
you're still at the place where the site was desecrated. You could tie it in, but it's column 2 for me.
I don't know.
Actually, Rob, that's a good point.
The timing is wild, man. The timing is wild. You know what? Back in column 1, it's the curse. It's the curse.
It's the curse. So the next one was Conrad Spindler, who, now this is the guy who, he died from multiple sclerosis complications, which to me is like, okay, yeah, he had multiple sclerosis and he died from it. There's nothing interesting about that. That's a thing that happens. So I would immediately put it into the not curse column, except that he said, quote, "It's all media hype. The next thing you'll be saying is I will be next." And then he was next. So
It's tough. Yeah.
it's tough, but still, it's just, he had multiple sclerosis and he died from multiple sclerosis. I don't know how you can attribute that to a curse.
Yeah. For me, it's column 2, but the Iceman is laughing about that one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he is. So, and then the final death was the archaeologist named Dr. Tom Loy, and he was the one who died. I don't have a cause of death on him. None of the websites said how he died. It just said that he died in his house in Australia, and he was about to release a book on it. He studied the corpse. He did all the blood tests on it, the DNA tests. So I don't think he was a part of the original excavation, but he was definitely part of the process, which, if you're looking at it from the outside in, you didn't know what they were doing, you could say they are violating that corpse.
I like to think that he was sitting home reading his newspaper in his chair. And as he's sitting there, he gets a knock on the door. And he's like, who could that be coming at this hour? So he gets up and he looks out the window. He doesn't see anybody. And he opens the door. And another targeted avalanche comes through and kills him.
Maybe that's why they left out the cause of death, because they don't want panic about targeted avalanches, right? You don't want the city to start going crazy about that.
Yeah.
No, unless it was that, or like he somehow got stuck in his freezer. Those are the only 2 ways I'm going to put this one in the curse. So
I feel like either of those situations would have been mentioned personally.
Mm-hmm.
So
I heard about it.
So we got
is just wearing a hat and a tie with a suitcase, just ringing his doorbell.
Say what again? Oh man. Yeah. So we got first death, we're putting in the not curse category. Second death, definitely curse. Third death, no. Fourth death, yes. So we're 2-2. Fifth death was, I think Rob and I had it in the definitely column with the heart attack after the funeral.
Yeah.
I got that.
Went to the curse
obviously
site.
Went to the curse site. That's what swayed me.
Yeah.
So we're going 3-2 in favor of the curse. Then we had Conrad Spindler, who died from multiple sclerosis. So he's in column 1. So it's 3-3. Oh my God, we're down. We're 3-3 with the last death.
Yeah.
With the avalanche
Targeted
hitman
avalanche.
at the front door.
Yeah, I would have to. Damn, that sucks. The tiebreaker, we don't know. Yeah.
We don't know.
Well, I mean,
put it in the curse column. It's more fun.
I mean, it is more fun. I mean, not the death. We don't like that people died, but the car accident, like we said, is normal, but he was on his way to a lecture about it. So like that kind of,
it's just kind of,
I don't know.
I mean, you can kind of tie it back.
I know there's coincidences, but
right.
Like that's a pretty big one.
These curses are always killing people in car accidents.
Yeah.
True.
Right, Annabelle?
You could make
chair.
a case for all 7 to be in the curse column, but car accident, maybe. I guess that one's one where I'm kind of a little bit more in the middle, kind of leaning towards curse on. But when it's a terminal illness or like a brain tumor or multiple sclerosis or whatever, it's just so hard to be like, it was the curse that killed him. He would have survived another month or something. It's hard to really blame that on a curse for me.
Agreed, but I think we're leaning curse.
I lean heavily on curse. Yeah, I thought this is a good one. It's just such an interesting story too, with just how old it is and how many pieces of data they were able to pull from this corpse. The vocal cord thing is a wild ride. If you guys haven't looked into that,
They basically use CT scans of his reconstructed vocal cords to recreate his voice, which sounds like they didn't get it right. I don't know. Like, it just, like if you listen to this audio, there's no way.
Part man, part duck.
But we'll play it for you.
I will say that sounds like the voice of someone that is sending a targeted avalanche at you. Here comes the snow. So stupid.
Oh my god.
We can't play that on this show, but clip this for Patreon.
I will. I mean, maybe he sounded like that. Maybe.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just sounds like a robot.
It sounds like the Cookie Monster trying to figure out how to talk is what it's like. Like, what are we doing?
Like how they taught it as vowels.
Yeah.
He's been dead for 5,300 years, and the first thing they have it say are just vowels.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This was an interesting curse, and it was one that, again, I remember when they, like Rob, I remember when they found this, but I didn't know it was tied to a curse, so that was interesting to discover.
Yeah, I had legitimately never heard about the curse that was tied to it. It sounds pretty thorough. It sounds like it could be legitimate. At least, 3 or 4 of them sound like it. To me, it's definitely part of the curse, and then the other ones could be as well. So,
agreed.
Yeah.
What we learned is if you discover a 5,500-year-old corpse, don't put it in the sharpshooter as you're trying to take it out of the ice.
So uncomfortable watching that, just smacking away with the ice pick and chucking a leg around and putting the walls of Jericho. And that was rough. Anyways, that's a good one. Good find there, Dave.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Nope.
That we should discuss? All right, then let's thank our patrons real quick. VIPs: Allison V, Dakota G, Donnie N, Jeannie R, Jennifer P, Lisa J, Mike Oubliette Blake, Mom and Pops W, Nick, Robert H, Demon King, and Inspires Gaming. Thank you for being VIPs. For the Warren's Words, we have Ambi Rose, Anna C, Kath Q, Chris C, LBPS founder, next HDGS guest, Cody G, DC, Lily, Jake V, Janice G, Mar Fire, Matthew T, Papa Squatch, Rachel B, Sarah Cook. We have Steph A of the Church of the Stephanies. Excuse me. We have Stitch Kitten, Sydney B, the other Rachel B, Adam S. He is part of the Ghost Pirate Mafia, as well as Al Capone. Al Capone's allegedly poorly clothed folding bed. We have Al Capone's allegedly poorly taxidermied wife. Alicia E. Anthony, how long can I make this anyways? T. Ashley M. Brandon W. Brennan, a.k.a. Major Archibald Butt. We have Captain McSlugs. Colby0204 believes Adolf Peterson was a patsy. We have Crystal Quinn, Huska Castle, Huggy Bear, Joe R, Kelly Costa. We have Curly J, Michaela T, Mina H. We have Mariah M. We have Nuthouse Queen, Paul from St. Louis, Pork, Sam from Nepal, Sarah R, Solar Flare, Soph, Hooper, Tall Dave, The Big Spag Nasty, Tiffany H, and Xenu is my homeboy. Thank you for being members on Patreon. If you do that, you get early access to episodes like this. You also get ad-free episodes, bonus content, all sorts of fun stuff. VIP members will be getting limited edition 100th episode, Hometown Ghost Stories, commemorative tees. I don't know what that word means, but I said it. What is commemorative?
T-shirts? It's the thing you put on your body, Jesse.
No, what is commemorative? Anyone know what that means? I hear it all the time.
You commemorate.
Yeah, to commemorate.
Well, what is commemorate?
To celebrate.
It means respectively remember.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing Rob said, just longer.
Remember the 100th episode. It applies there, right? I've heard that in like infomercials. So that's what you get. I'm really intelligent. Anyways, that'll pretty much do it. Anything else, gentlemen?
No.
To recall and show respect for someone or something, or to celebrate.
Or to celebrate. Yeah, it's a celebration of our 100th episode, which is coming up October 20th. Join us for the party. It will be in Plymouth Second Wind Brewing. Come meet us, hang out with some of the crew and fans of the show and just the people of Plymouth, because it will also be open to the public. So
and The Rock.
And
not like the wrestler The Rock. I mean,
you heard it here first. Special guest. The Rock will be there. No, but even more exciting than Dwayne The Rock Johnson is Plymouth Rock, and it's within walking distance from the brewery. So if you want to get your fucking mind blown, we can take you to Plymouth Rock and you can look at it. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. And now no one's gonna show up. All right,
we gotta throw the rock on the flyer and just have a picture of Plymouth Rock.
We'll Photoshop Dwayne The Rock Johnson's eyes, doing the people's eyebrow on it or something, and we'll make it work.
Instead of giving everyone in the VIP tier a commemorative T-shirt, we'll just give them a commemorative rock. Like, here's a little rock from.
This is also a rock that was in Plymouth, so you can tell everyone that you took home a.
You too have Plymouth Rock.
You can easily get it. You don't even have to come to this event. You just go to Plymouth and find a rock and take it home with you. It's perfect.
Just that rock will have exactly as much historical significance as the actual Plymouth Rock. So,
facts. Anyways, all right, we'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.
Peace.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Jesse Wilkins here, Hometown Ghost Stories. Hope you enjoyed that episode. For more bonus side content episodes, swing on over to Patreon, get early access to this stuff, as well as some Patreon exclusive stuff. For as little as $3 a month, you can join on Patreon and help support the crew. We put a lot of money, effort, resources into these videos, and every little dollar helps. So consider it. Also, swing on over to the Discord. On the Discord, you can get access to us. You can contact us. You can share your stories, share your ghost pictures. It's just a better way to contact us. So swing on over to Discord. The link is below. It is free to join, completely free. Also, here are some other episodes that you can check out. Boom, boom. Check out those videos. Really cool stuff. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.